Good evening. My name is DJ Ennis, and welcome to Vote Right for America. In our last episode, I went over what equality is and explained the difference between equality in opportunity and equality in results. I further explained that those in the egalitarian political economic philosophy side, such as liberals, progressives, Democrats, socialists, communists, believe in equality in results, unwittingly not realizing all the sets of unfairness and inequalities it brings as it cheapens rewards and individual success, and how they foolishly assume government can be a fair-minded arbiter that can decide what is equal and fair for everyone. Tonight, I'll cover delegates and electors. As you may know, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are facing presidential primaries and caucuses. These primaries and caucuses, conducted on a state-by-state basis with some of our territories thrown in, decide on the number of delegates who will be pledged to a particular presidential candidate. On the Republican side, it's not much of a big deal considering that Donald J. Trump is being challenged by some anti-Trumpers like Bill Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, who has pulled out, talk radio show host Joe Walsh of Illinois, who has pulled out, and California businessman Rocky De La Fuente, who is still in but hasn't won any delegates. Donald Trump has enough delegates to win the Republican Party's presidential nomination at this point. On the Democratic Party side, Joe Biden leads in the number of pledged delegates with 1,181, and Bernie Sanders has 885. These are the only ones still in the running for the Democratic Party presidential nomination. Tulsi Gabbard, who only had 2 delegates, has pulled out. The Democrats will ultimately decide who will be their presidential nominee at their national convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to be held July 13th through July 16th. The Republicans will formally nominate Donald Trump as their presidential candidate during their national convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, on August 24th through August 27th. The actual delegates are decided based on state and national party rules, but based on the primary and caucus results, most of those selected to be delegates will be pressed to be pledged to particular candidates, at least through the first round of votes on their party's convention floor. There are unpledged delegates in both parties, but the Democrats have the most, which are usually consigned to certain elected officials. Oftentimes, these are called superdelegates, but that's not their official names. Republicans also have unpledged delegates, but they're limited to 3 from each state and territory. In Episode 5, I showed you when the different states and territories will hold their primaries and caucuses. Since that time, we've come under attack from a pandemic, COVID-19, a variety of coronavirus. Ohio was initially scheduled to have their primary on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. They have moved it to June 2nd. Georgia moved their primary from March 24th to May 19th. Puerto Rico is planning to move theirs from March 29th to April 26th. Louisiana is moving their primary from April 4th to June 20th. Maryland moved their primary from April 28th to June 2nd. And Kentucky moved theirs from May 19th to June 23rd. Now let's discuss electors. Our founding fathers crafted a constitution providing us with a republic as a style and form of government. A lot of people loosely throw around the word democracy to describe our nation, but it's imprecise. You may recall that our Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag contains the words, "and to the republic for which it stands." A republic is a form of government where we have representatives, people who represent us in government. Our members of the U.S. House of Representatives are directly elected by us. That's based on Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. That was the only democratic portion of the Constitution. Senators were chosen by state governors and approved by their legislators according to Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution, but that was changed to direct elections with the ratification of the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment's purpose was to end cronyism, but it gave us a new problem: career politicians. The President of the United States, the Vice President, and the Justices on the U.S. Supreme Court are the remaining officials chosen in a republic or represented fashion. Article 2, Section 1 says, "The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators with representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. But no senator, representative, or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector." Each state always have 2 senators and at least 1 representative, but there can be more representatives based on the population of the state. That's why the census that's conducted every 10 years, like this year, is very important. It's to help establish whether your state gains a new congressional district, loses a congressional district, or maintains the same number of congressional districts, which also impacts how many electoral votes, the number of electors who decides the president your state gets. The census, or enumeration as it's also called, is required in Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution. Your state gets a number of electors that are equal to the whole number of senators and representatives your state is entitled to in Congress. For example, if you live in the state of New York, your state has 29 electoral votes because you have 2 U.S. senators and 27 congressional districts with a member in the U.S. House of Representatives. If you live in Florida, your state also has 29 electoral votes. California has 55 electoral votes. They have 2 senators and 53 congressional districts. They have a very large population. Texas has 38 electoral votes, and Oklahoma has only 7. Now, the Constitution states that the electors will be appointed, quote, "in such a manner as the legislature thereof may direct," unquote. Each state leaves it up to the political party to name, designate, or choose the electors. Each state has their own statutes and codes on how to achieve that within their states. Before 1860, the state of South Carolina, by their own laws, allowed their state legislature to choose the electors, and that was constitutionally defendable. It was in their state law. The people there did not have a direct say at the ballot box, but they did elect the members of their state legislature. In New York, the New York Consolidated Laws under ELN Section 6-102 provides how electors are determined. Many states utilize the state's political party's central committee or the political party's executive committee to nominate the electors. Many require that the political party's top committees notify the governor as to whom they have chosen. Other states allow their party's delegates to the party's congressional district conventions to choose an elector, and the state party's executive committee chooses the remaining 2 electors. Each state sets things up differently, but ultimately the responsibility falls on the political parties in each state to provide the list of electors to represent their party's presidential and vice presidential nominee. Please understand, there is an election for the presidential and vice presidential candidates, but what the voters are doing are actually voting for the electors, who are dedicated or pledged to casting their electoral votes for the candidate the majority of the people in that state are voting for. The people in each state, in essence, are deciding on November 3rd which set of electors, Democrat or Republican, get to cast their electoral ballots sometime in December in their state capital according to state law. Those ballots, along with the ballots from electors in all the other states, will be counted in the presence of the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate on January 3rd, 2021, shortly after the new Congress is sworn in and seated. The winner, the ones with the most ballots, are inaugurated on January 20th, 2021. The words Electoral College is not in the Constitution per se, but what I have described to you is generally called the Electoral College. There has been much controversy since the general election in November 2016 about doing away with electors. Those who want to go to a popular vote for president are angry that Donald Trump beat out their favorite patsy, someone who'd keep in place the entrenched D.C. swamp, Hillary Clinton. I, for one, do not want to abandon what's in the Constitution. I don't want to get rid of having electors for the president and vice president. I don't want to succumb to the tyranny of the majority by having the president and vice president elected by a nationwide popular vote. Those who are for it tend to come from high population states. If we abandon the electoral system, only New York, California, and Illinois would pick presidents. No one else's votes would matter. I wouldn't like that. Most of the people in those populous states don't know what makes for good government and good governance, and they tend to be constitutionally, economically, and politically ignorant. Yes, they tend to side with the egalitarian political economic view of things, which means if they got their way, the United States of America is toast. You are watching Vote Right for America. Please subscribe to this vlog. It's free. And you can also email me with your comments and questions at vrfa.djinnes@gmail.com. And please comment. I'll use your comments and questions to clear up matters and concerns you have in future episodes. Good evening.